Hey guys, Bicebump here, bringing you this Unholy Death Knight 9.2 Mythic Plus guide, specifically focusing on what I could call the ZOOMBIEWOUND build. Today I will be playing a plus 19 Mists of Turner Scythe. In the background we're going to start by discussing the build, and then I'm going to do commentary on the run itself. So what makes this build special is that we're picking up Infected Claws, Bursting Swords, and Defile, and we kind of go all out on the AoE aspect of the Unholy set, on the Unholy spec. Furthermore, we also pick up the Reanimated Shambler legendary, and finally, we also do pick up Night Fae. So it's quite different from what we ran in 9.1.5 when we was a lot of Necrolord. This is a viable alternative to that, which, as I said, focuses heavily on the AoE aspect. We try and leverage building up lots of festering wounds and then popping them down our Defile window, as well as getting a ton of strength from Death's Due and just lots of raw damage from Defile itself / Death's Due. You know, they replace each other, so it's kind of like the same spell. The difference of playing this is that you generally, when you engage a pack, what I like to do is do a double Festering Strike into Apocalypse into another Festering Strike. That's kind of like the required amount of Festering Strike we do when we set up. I'm not sure if I do it at the start of this run, because I was still trying to figure out what's best. That's what kind of works best for me. Anyway, let's take a look at this pack here. We start off by using Dark Transformation early. We do that to build up lots of Festering Wounds. Furthermore, we apply our dot early as well. We're not picking up Unholy Blight, right? So we're going to have to use Outbreak to apply that. We dump our Runic Power using Epidemic, and then we pop down Defile and start spamming Scourge Strike. An interesting thing about this build is that Defile has such an incredibly short cooldown, which means that we can pretty much always get at least 2 Defile windows in any given pack. So what we generally choose to do is that we do our setup with Festering Strikes, use Apocalypse, our cooldown, we dump Runic Power, pop down Defile, and then we do our normal single target rotation. And then we use Epidemic instead of Death Call as appropriate. And then we pop down Defile again at the end of the pack. And pretty much always, even though we pop down Defile at the end of a pack, we will have it back up again, because the cooldown is so incredibly short. Alright, let's just keep having a look. So this is a 2-target pack. I'm going to start by building up my Festering Wounds to use Apocalypse. I'm then going to spread some wounds on both targets here. So you can see we have 3 and 4. Before popping down Defile and spam your Scourge Strike. Once you are in your Defile window, just spam Scourge Strike and use your Death Call / Epidemic to not cap Runic Power. Don't worry about not having any wounds on the target, it's still worthwhile to just spam Scourge Strike. You can see there, we had our Defile window down earlier. We could use another one, right? There's only a 10-second downtime between your Defile windows, so you can leverage them a absolute ton. You will notice as well that I'm running the Unholy 4-piece, which means that my Soul Reapers, when I get them to explode, or if a target dies with them on, I get 50% damage increase to pets. Technically 40% because it's base 10. I'm going to try and leverage that as much as possible. We have 2 components that gain a lot from that. First of all, we have our normal pet during Dark Transformation. It's a very good idea to get a Soul Reaper proc off to leverage, increase that Dark Transformation window damage, it deals AoE damage. Furthermore, Reanimated Shambler scales with the full set. So I try to keep up the buff as much as possible, so when I do get a proc, it will do a ton more damage. When it comes to Urs, I always make sure to Soul Reaper, so I get the proc at the start. If it's a pack where it doesn't die very quickly, what I'll generally do is do double Festering Strike on her, so I can use my Apocalypse on it. This is quite a nice situation where we have a 3-target cleave window. I missed out with my Soul Reaper, I should have done it on the ad, but that's fine. When we set up for the Ingra burster, when the main ad goes below 20% health, the other one takes 100% increased damage. So I'm going to use Army quite early. I'm going to try and Soul Reaper the ad here, get my buff up, so again can use all my cooldowns and just funnel everything into the boss. I use my trinket, and then I just do as much damage as possible. So I think I kind of mistimed it. It's a bit difficult to get Soul Reaper proc there, but that's the general idea here. So you just use army, use it a couple of seconds before this vulnerability phase, because the army takes like 5 to 10 seconds to get going. So you don't want to wait until the boss is vulnerable before you pop down army. Use it, as I said, when the secondary ad is like 25% health or something, 30% even. That's a good idea to use it. So the ink right here is below 35% health, so I'm going to leverage my Soul Reapers to keep up the buff as much as possible. I'm not sure if we got a Fae there, but Unholy is quite nice. Or DKs in general, we can use both Lichborn and AMS to immune the Fae. However, sometimes you need to use your what's it called? Sometimes you would use AMS to run across the blue puddles on the ground. You don't take any damage, as you can see here, if you have AMS on. Cool. I pre-used my Soul Reaper there to try and get a good proc. I didn't crit, unfortunately, but boss is dying quickly. There's not going to be any problem at all. Whew, 60k Soul Reaper. Mwah. Sorry. Okay, so into the maze, and as Unholy, we can pull extra. So for this first pack, we can actually go and pull the right side here. So we just click that, and then I'll press my pet attack macro. It's the one that you can see is on the X button, and it's just I just took the pet attack ability from the spellbook and put it on X. You don't need a specific macro for it. The pet is going to run away, going to attack them, and it's going to pull them over. In the meantime, I'm going to spend some time here setting up wounds, getting ready. And once they come in, I use my Dark Transformation. And as I already have wounds up, I'm just going to pop down my Death Stew ASAP and go ham. I do think, so since we're running Convocation, right, and we're generating a ton of wounds, our Apocalypse cooldown is going to be very short. And it's going to be on the order of magnitude of our Dark Transformation. And I feel like it's going to be crucial for like every single pack, use Apocalypse. It's 3 damage. Like, it pops the wounds. Surely you would have popped them with in your Death and Decay window anyway, but it's still nice. And if you look at my overall, like my army damage, so both Army of the Dead plus Apocalypse combined, I think it's almost my top damage. And that's just because I focus so much on making sure I use Apocalypse on every pack, and I use my Army of the Dead on cooldown appropriately. Okay, pack stat. Let's move on. You see I'm at roughly 20k overall so far. Yeah. Oh, exemplary pack. So Outbreak, Dark Transformation, double Festering, Apocalypse, another Festering, Burst, drop our Runic Power, Defile, spam Scourge Strike. Right? That's the plan. And you can see, I'm quite far behind at the start, but after I pop down my window, I get up there with the others. And the thing with Unholy is I can do this every 4 to 5 seconds essentially. So you have the same amount of cooldowns on every pack. So you have very consistent damage, which is both good and bad. It's good because it helps to kind of balance out the damage profile. It's bad if you really pull around the big packs, because then Unholy doesn't have too much. Outbreak, double Festering, Apocalypse, and then dump Runic Power into Defile. That's the vibe, yeah? Outbreak, Dark Transformation, have it, double Festering, Apocalypse, another Festering, dump Runic Power into the Defile window. Pack is about to die here, so let's see if I make the decision to actually go for my Dark Transformation, or if I hold it for next pack. I feel like I make the judgment here that I'm gonna hold it, because the pack is dying so quickly. And you can see in the previous pack, the Mage was at 35k, now it's at 10. And I'm at 20k every single pack, so. Making sure to Soul Reaper as much as possible. And off we go. Hopefully I can look at it. I can't remember if I looked at the damage profile after this run. I probably did, so we can have a look at that afterwards to see what exactly did damage. Everything is ready here. I also have Army. And as a good DK, what I do is that I pop Army whenever it's off CD. You have to do that to leverage the cooldown reduction properly. If you don't, you're going to lose so much damage overall. So I like to, you know, as soon as army is ready, I pop it, I use my IQD, and that's kind of like my one of my cooldown windows. The thing that we have now means that army cooldown effectively is really quite short. So if you do hold on to it, you're going to lose a ton overall. So that's one point of improvement I can see people make. Use army properly on cooldown. It's going to be up for the fights anyway, so don't worry about it. It's also not as reliant, actually. Just thought about this. So previously, army damage was very reliant on using Bloodlust. However, with the 4 set, that's no longer true. Because as long as the target is an execute and you can leverage the 4 set, you're good. Right, so you can see I messed up there. I wanted to do double Festering, Soul Reaper, and Apocalypse on the ad, but I didn't have any time. So what instead I'm going to do is like halfway through the pool there, apparently, I'm going to pull extra. Same thing there. I just use my pet to go and attack. I'm going to use Soul Reaper on the here. Always use Soul Reaper on both the Relic and the Lieutenant and then spawns. It's such a great way to follow damage. Especially like if you have a Bloodlust pool with Unholy, we're doing a ridiculous amount of damage because we can always get the 4 set buff. You know, like in Plaguefall, I like to play Unholy there, first boss. I peak at like, you know, 50k DPS due to that insane scaling of the 4Ps and army and bloodlust, and you have the haste buff. It's just incredible. I'm not sure if any other class can do as much as Unholy in that kind of situation. It's just so much. Right, this pull is quite messy because we, you know, pulled extra, but it's good overall because, you know, this matriarch needs to die anyway, and it takes ages to do so. Alright, we're ready to pop down our next Stephanie K. Just use those on cooldown. Defile damage is going to be one of our top damage overall in this dungeon. Like, it takes that. I think I looked at a log the other day. So, yep, I played Prototype Pantheon yesterday, and I played Night Fae Defile build with Death Certainty. I got rank 1. I'm going to make a video of that. It's quite interesting. But Defile at that point was my top damage. So that just shows you kind of what kind of scale you're looking at. It's quite fun because, you know, it's always been kind of we've looked at Defile and went, you know, oof, this could scale really well. And throughout the expansion, it hasn't been enough. But now in this final patch, everything kind of aligns. Now this is weird. So why did everything else pull, but not the tender? Like, I pulled the pack with my pet. The 3 other guys came along, but the tender was like, yeah. Oh well, we're just going to kill that as soon as possible. And then move on to next. Yep. Probably someone asking in chat if I had the Reanimated Shambler. I make, you know, I far too often make the mistake of not having my proper legendaries, whatever. Alright, so this is the pool opener. We're going to use Soul Reaper on that ad, get it up. We're going to then use our cooldowns. I kind of could tell that it was going to die too quickly, so I didn't use double festering. I waited for that a little bit. Instead, I popped down my Defile and got quick 4 stack of the debuff. I have my army running, and we are good to go. So ideally, if I had army TD like 20 seconds earlier, it would have been much better because I could have used it on pull. But, you know, can't have everything, can you? We are going to try, so this is one aspect of this build which is difficult. So on single target, the goal is to keep 100% uptime on your death debuff. You can see it top left on my character portrait there, I have 4 stacks. If you play properly, it is possible, but it's not easy. So what you need to do is at the end of your Defile buff, you need to hit Scourge Strike. You can see I refresh it there, lovely. I have 5 seconds left on my death D. What I want to do at the end of it, I'm going to spam Scourge Strike so that I refresh the buff, which allows me to then pop down Defile and use it again. You have a couple of seconds leeway, but it's not much. So if you mess up only slightly, you're going to lose it. Again, 4 stack. But it's something you're going to have to learn because it's unusual gameplay. We don't usually do this. Again, end of Death D, spam away on my Scourge Strikes. Scourge Strikes. And that allows me, again, we have next Death D window, pop down Defile and hit it. Bam. Get it again. Oops. Not sure what happened there. But then as soon as there are any mechanics, it's going to be much more difficult. Bosses in 35% range, we're going to start spamming Skirt Strike. You can see that I saved the GCD where my Defile is coming off. We're generally quite starving in rotations, so we don't need to mind too much if we spend like 1 second not doing anything. So instead, hold that GCD, make sure you use Defile as soon as it comes up. You can see here, I messed up slightly, so I didn't use Skirt Strike right at the end of my... Well, I used other spells at the end of the farm window, and I missed the timing. But with some practice, you know, as you learn to keep track of it better, it's going to be far easier. And then, you know, this kind of movement, I had to run away early from my Defile window, so I'm definitely going to lose it here. Try and time my Soul Reapers. Bam, got it. Do be greedy with it, right? I did it at like 56% health there, because I know it dies rather quickly. You can also Soul Reaper the Mist card a bit earlier there, because you know he's going to become vulnerable soon. So you can kind of plan ahead. Those kind of little tricks do help a lot. Okay, we got 14 minutes left. It's plenty of time to finish this. We're just going to go and kill a couple of packs, get to the boss, kill that ASAP, and then we are done. It's another Earth's pack. Oh, tank died. I think he got smacked by... what's it called? The quaking. Alright, so our target, pretty much always, like the CDR is so good. We're gonna see if we do double Festering Strike here. Yep, and an Apocalypse. So it depends like how good your group is at killing it. If they don't really target it, it's much easier to get the double Festering off. But if they do actually target it properly, you might just have to resort to using a single Soul Reaper, and then you do the double Festering on another target. Again, I think you should really get the feel of like the consistency here. Every single pool, I essentially have my cooldowns and I do similar DPS. So there's not a lot of... Obviously, we scale very well with an increased target count. So when we double the amount of targets, we're going to do more than double damage due to how we generate the wounds and so on. But overall, Unholy currently, with Night Fae, does very similar damage in every single pool. And that's a strength in many cases, I'd argue. Here we can show when the tank does any kind of pull, chill, right? You will be able to do your damage, you know, at some... It's better. Okay. Try to chill when the tank pulls so you don't over aggro and die. You can wait 5 seconds, maybe even 10 seconds before you actually go. Just make sure, you know, give the tank some time. He gets aggro, he gets everything grouped up. It just makes the pack much easier to kill, and everyone's experience is just much nicer. So that's I would say, a good attribute of a DPS to, you know, hold off on the pool. Show some respect for the tank, essentially. That died again. We're hitting 20-24k as usual. And move on to the next. You can see, yeah, I'm chilling. There I use my... It's also, you know, Unholy, we don't do much damage at the start of our pool, so we kind of don't need to worry about it. But like if you play Frost DK, you really need to make sure you don't go ham instantly, because you're going to just snap aggro and die, and that's never a good thing. Using my Soul Reaper here as much as possible. I should really get a weak aura that shows me Shambler, because nowadays I don't really see when it procs, which is annoying, because you know you don't really see the numbers and you can't really tell. So I'm going to get a weak aura so you can tell that, oh, Shambler procs. I can see my damage went up. And Shambler has two values, right? It both deals a significant damage on its own, like the explosion itself is significant, but it also applies wounds to all targets. And simply running the Bursting Swords talent, that's translated into a ton of AoE damage overall. I feel like Unholy with this new build, I know it's AoE focused, but due to the fact that we have our 4 set, which is like primarily single target, we can afford to pick up an AoE heavy setup because we still do a ton of single target priority burst. Okay. Normal pool, we have 3 festering strikes in total, 2 then going into the apocalypse. We spend our runic power and then we go into our Scourge Strike cleave window. Looks good. Target the low health one so we can trigger a Soul Reaper proc. We have our next Death and Decay window, and it looks like I got a Shambler proc because I got wounds and everything, which is always nice. And we keep pumping. So we have 97% on the enemy forces. Not quite sure if we're going to reach 100 here, or we might have to kill something afterwards. I think we're going to have to kill one after, whatever. We have 3 minutes left on the Bloodlust, so I think we're going to go kill a boss, and then we're going to kill a final pack. I can't remember though. Yeah, okay, we're going boss. 30 seconds left on the armor timer, not ideal. We do the apocalypse on the ad to kill that appropriately. And then we start cleaving here. It's always nice to have an extra target to cleave because it stacks up the Death to debuff so much quicker. This buff is going to be very difficult for us to actually get any noticeable uptime on 4-stack Death to because we have to run around so much. We managed to do it there though, which is always nice. Ideally, I would like to pop my Defile down on the ads, help kill those quickly. But you know, you can't have it all, can you? When we have our Death and Decay or Defile cooldown is incredibly short. One thing you need to be aware of, if you pop down a Death and Defile on top of another Defile, once the first one runs out, you will lose the Death and Decay buff that allows you to cleave and gain Death 2 stacks. So what you actually want to do is wait until the first Defile is finished and then pop down the next one so don't overlap them. That's a bad idea. We used our armor there at some point. I missed it. I think it would have been better to save it for Lost, right? We would have gained a lot more value. Here we go. We can pop down our Defile, get some nice cleave on the ads. This boss is just such a so annoying to play, right? There's so little room. There's pools on the floor everywhere. You know, you have to run around so much. It devalues Death to because you know, it's difficult to get 4 stacks every time. Boss is now in execute range. That's great. Gonna start spamming my Soul Reapers, and we're gonna have Bloodlust coming up here in 5 seconds. And this would have been a far better point to use army because we would have gotten Bloodlust, and we would have gotten 100% uptime on the 4-set buff. Alright, when we get those puddles, I just run out quickly. Don't greed, because if they hit you, you just die instantly. It's a one shot. AMS is nice here as well. Makes us immune to the puddles. So we can just, you know, if we end up in a bad spot, we can just AMS and run away. Another usage of AMS here would be to, you know, this mind link. So if someone else is targeted by it and use AMS, you won't get a link. However, if you get targeted and use AMS, that won't help. So it's only when someone else is targeted you can use the link to avoid that. Alright, we just need 2% here, so he's gonna burst this pack down. Probably should just ignore the relics and just kill the there we go. Got it. And that's it. The Unholy Zombie Wound build. I hope you guys found that useful. Let's see if we can actually have a look at the damage breakdown here. Let's jump ahead. There we go. So we can see Army of Dead is top, and that's just because of my, both to the first boss, but also for my Apocalypse usage. And then we have the Fire Bursting Source, Epidemic, and Festering Wounds, and then finally the Shambler at 1 million. And that's the damage breakdown you want to hit. It's, as I said, skewed towards army, but you still want to use army in such a way that it ends up very high up on your meters. Great. I hope you guys found that useful and that you can play some fun Unholy in 9.2, blast some Mythic Plus and show those Frost DKs who's the boss. I know Frost DK is generally going to be a bit better, but Unholy can definitely pull its weight still. Leave a comment down below, tell me what you thought about this video, upvote down below, consider subscribing, hook me up on the Activist Discord if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much.